All right, Steeler fans, it is time for the Wednesday second half of the show, which means we update DEFCON levels and then we dive into the mailbag segment. Let's start with the DEFCON levels. For those that might be just watching or listening for the very first time, remember, if you are a 1, a lot of times scales 1 to 5 or something like that, a 1 is great. No, it's worse. It's the worst you could possibly be. You do not want to be a 1 in the DEFCON levels. 5 is fantastic. 1 is no bueno. So let's get started with the quarterback. It was a 4 and it stays a 4. And I want to make it clear. I've had some people reach out to me and say, Jeff, like, what's the deal with you and Rodgers? Why don't you ever have him on the winners list? Why don't you ever give him any bumps in the DEFCON levels? First and foremost, a 4 is a really good DEFCON level. If you're a 5, you have to be playing out of your mind at a position, and a group has to be playing out of their mind. This is not that. He's not there yet, but he's a 4, and it stays a 4. That's a good score. People that want to crap on me because I guess they think I'm crapping on Aaron Rodgers. That's not the case. It's a 4, stays a 4. If he starts to throw for some more yards, he's thrown a lot of touchdowns, but gets, if he's getting up around 300 yards passing and he has the time to do that and the receivers are doing their jobs, maybe we'll update it. But a 4 is a good score. Let's go to running back. Running back was a 3 and it stays a 3. They didn't run the ball well this past week. They still won. They had 2 rushing touchdowns, which is rare for the Steelers in 2025. But I've got it as a 3, and it stays a 3. Winners, wide receivers and tight ends, the pass catchers, they are a 3. They stay a 3 as well. There were some drops, but not enough that I would deem it to be, dropping it from a 3 to a 2. Roman Wilson's gaffe is not enough to drop it from a 3 to a 2, so it just stays a 3. The offensive line, I'll tell you what, people want to talk about Broderick Jones' style. And when he's going up against some more polished pass rushers, like it is tough. You saw it with this past week. You've seen it with some other pass rushers this year. But he's doing the job. And Troy Fautanu looks every bit the part of a solid right tackle for the future. And then you pair him up with Mason McCormick. They're both looking really, really good. Trey Essex, former Steeler, he was celebrated in the 2005 team. He's on social media. He said he thinks this right side could be like the next right, guard, tackle, McCormick, Fautanu for the next 8 to 10 years. I would love nothing more than for that to happen. And then you throw in Zach Frazier and you have some serious continuity along the offensive line. But the offensive line's looking better. They're a 4 and it stays a 4. Let's go to defensive backs. They are a 2, and that's up from a 1. So you got to think, after the Packers completely shredded the defense for a second straight week, it went down to a 1, and that's horrible. So it goes up 1 to a 2. I liked what I saw from Brandon Echols. I really liked what I saw from Kyle Duggar. I like Jalen Ramsey at safety. I've got some hesitation, though, about Darius Slay. I swear that guy gets hurt every single game. I don't know if there's been a game yet this year that he's participated in where the training staff hasn't had to go out on the field for something with him. Maybe it's a finger. Maybe he got kicked in the shin, hit in the nuts. I don't know. He's always out there on the ground. And sometimes maybe it's a veteran move to give the defense a break. I don't know. But still, defensive backs, they are a 2, and that's up from 1. Inside linebacker, it goes from a 3 to a 4. Peyton Wilson has himself a career game. He wasn't alone. I thought Patrick Queen did a good job. I thought the inside linebackers were great. Malik Harrison looked the part. Run stuffing guy with Cole Holcomb out of the lineup due to illness. He stepped in and it was seamless. Love to see that. Outside linebacker goes from a 3 to a 4. When you have all 4 players making plays, you're talking about Nick Herbig putting pressure on the quarterback. Highsmith, multiple sacks and a forced fumble. You have TJ Watt, sack, forced fumble, fumble recovery. And Jack Sawyer, oh yeah, his first career interception off the deflected pass defense by Peyton Wilson. Yeah, that's going to get you up to a 4. So that goes from a 3 to a 4. The defensive line, they were a 2. It goes up to a 3. Keanu Benton, I thought, had a career game. I think that Cam Hayward's starting to find his own. And he was pushing Quentin Nelson around. And Derek Hartman, man, if you all haven't seen this, go to my Twitter account. It's actually Coach Kevin Smith's clip, but I quote tweeted it and said, good Lord, look at Hartman. And it's a clip of Derek Hartman straight arming the center right back into the play. Impressive stuff. That defensive line is starting to kind of figure some things out. Hopefully they get Y.A. Black in there a little bit more. It goes from a 2 to a 3. Special teams. Congratulations to Danny Smith's crew. I know they gave up the fake punt, and that did kind of piss me off because I'm always watching this TV and I'm like, watch the fake, watch the fake. I say it constantly. My kids just laugh at me. But other than that, I thought it was a perfect performance. The special teams goes from a 4 to a 5. There's not much to complain about when it comes to the Steelers special teams. The return game is better. Coverage units have been better. The kicking has been phenomenal. I think we're not giving Corliss Waitman enough credit in terms of his punting ability. And he had that huge punt. It was great to see. Chris Boswell is Chris Boswell. It goes to a 5. And a big shout out to Danny Smith for at least knowing the loophole in the rules where Chris Boswell kicks the ball out of bounds. Everyone thinks they're going to get the ball at the 40-yard line. No, it's a certain number of yards from the spot of the kickoff, which puts him at the 25. It is pretty cool to see Danny Smith. I don't like the chomping of the gum thing is secondary. It's his fist pumping. He's over there just constantly pumping his fist. That's what I like about Danny Smith. Special teams is a 5. All right, let's go to the fan DEFCON. This was tough. I try to gauge how the fans are feeling. I try to gauge their vibes in terms of the overall trajectory of the team. They were a 1 after they lost to the Packers, to the point that the fans had a funeral in the parking lot of Acrisure Stadium with a black and gold casket, a kneeler. They had candles, everything for the Steelers defense. They said they were dead, putting them to bed. And that tells you the fans what they were thinking. I have them just going up 1 to a 2. I think fans are still kind of dejected. The fan base as a whole is probably thinking, we need to see more. Show us some more. And I'm okay with that. Fan DEFCON level goes from a 1 to a 2. All right, let's dive into the mailbag segment. In case you ever want to know how to get your question answered, all you have to do is find me on Twitter at jhartman, HARTMAN_PIT. Every single Tuesday, I put out a tweet that just says, hey, if you have questions, I'd love to answer them. You respond to that, and I will answer them live on the show. Let's get this started with Steely's burner account. He said, am I the only one that's actually annoyed by the Colts win? For as good of a win as it was, what was 2 weeks ago versus Cincinnati then? And why does this narrative continue every single year with Coach Tomlin? That's a great question. And unfortunately, I can't say that I was annoyed with the Colts win. I saw that win coming. Anyone that's followed this team for any duration of time, they probably saw this win coming. Maybe not. There were a lot of people that picked against the Steelers, but they're good for this. And I think someone put it best. It was on steelcurtainnetwork.com, our website. It was in the comment section where someone said this team can beat anyone and they can also lose to anyone. And that is factual. That is 100% factual. And it has been, like you said, for a long time with Mike Tomlin at the helm. Let's go to Believers. Ride or Die Crew poll of the week. This team is more bipolar than my ex-wife. Who do you think the Steelers team really is? Who do you think this Steelers team really is? The options are a playoff wannabe, wild card, but one and done, make some playoff noise, or a Super Bowl contender. All right, so here's where I'm looking for this one. I went with they can make some playoff noise. And the reason why I said that is that if the offense continues on their current trajectory, they're averaging over 25 points per game. And if the defense can just kind of find some middle ground, the pass defense, I don't need a top 10 unit. Just give me 16th, 17th, 18th even is better than where they are now, which is either 32nd or 31st. I haven't looked at the averages yet. But I think they can win a playoff game if they can actually figure out some of this stuff on defense. I know, optimist. Sorry. Believers continues. We hear a lot from Julian Edelman and others about how the Steelers scheme is easy and hasn't changed in years. Then why do the Steelers defenders seem lost and have communication issues all the time? Is it as easy as keep it simple, stupid? Sure seemed to work versus the Colts. I lean on people like Kevin Smith in this regard. And I will talk with Kevin before we record like the NFL whip around or after and ask him some questions about the Steelers. And he still talks about how there's some really basic communication issues that the Steelers are struggling with. And a lot of it is based around motion. When players go in motion, they struggle with passing players off. What are they supposed to do? Who's got the coverage of who? Now that this person is in the slot or they have a bunch formation, they still have work to do. And unfortunately, when you get Jalen Ramsey in the back half, I don't know if that's helpful or if that hurts. We'll see. It was a good performance with him back there against the Colts. Let's see how he does against LA this Sunday night. Jeff Coons, our buddy from up north, said, greetings from Not Mad Canada. Last week, your mailbag answer to an under-the-radar position needed at the trade deadline was cornerback. I tend to agree. and it's no longer under the radar. I'd love to see Omar shore up the back end of the defense with a versatile piece. With the injuries, that spot is now critical to address. Who is this year's Eric Rowe? DeMonte KZ just got cut. Do they upgrade? By the time this podcast airs, we'll know what Omar did or didn't do to improve the team for the stretch drive. Do they need another guard? I think that in terms of guard, I don't know if Andres Pete is someone that they would trust at guard. He's typically a tackle. It's interesting of which way they're going to go. They didn't make a trade. Asante Samuel Jr. is still out there, and he was just medically cleared. So there are players like that are still in the open market. Players will be cut from teams. If a player is disgruntled and wants a new home, they can definitely find their way to a new home. But I think ultimately the Steelers are just content with what they have, like it or not. That's what they feel because they didn't do anything. All right, let's go to Will Caldwell. Hey, Jeff, thus far, there haven't been any big Steelers moves at the trade deadline. Do you read anything into about how the Steelers see themselves now and after the season, or do you think the chips just didn't fall the way Omar wanted in order to make a trade? Thanks. I don't think the Steelers value draft picks so much. You know, you'll never see a Steelers GM unless ownership changes where they print shirts like they did out in for Les, I think it was Les Snead, the GM of the Rams, that said F them picks. They just don't do that. Yes, I know they traded a first-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick. That was such a one-off. They just don't do it. They value that fourth round too. And they'll trade a 6th or a 7th. They obviously did pick swap with the Patriots for a 6th and a 7th rounder with the Kyle Duggar trade. But they value those picks. And when you saw those players, like I mentioned, Jacoby Myers going for a 4th and a 6th, it was just too rich for their blood. I don't know. We'll see. Let's go to James. He said, thoughts on Malik Harrison during Sunday's game. Personally, I noticed his presence both on defense and special teams. He certainly looked like a force at times out there. You saw the same thing I did, James. And a lot of people forget, because he was on injured reserve, that he was the replacement for Landon Roberts. And why did they make this a 2-year deal for Malik Harrison? Because he plays special teams. Landon Roberts would not play special teams at his stage of his career. He does. Malik Harrison is a willing participant in special teams. He is that run stuffer. He looked good. He looked healthy. I agree with you 100%. Let's go to Brad Bowman. Hey, Jeff, just curious about your thoughts on the Roman Wilson fumble. I personally think it will have an effect on his playing time. I know the mentality of this coaching staff. I also wanted to say Steel Curtain Network is the best. Thank you, Brad, for the kind words. And I will say that if you didn't listen to my Monday podcast, The Winners and Losers, unfortunately, Roman Wilson's fumble got him on the loser list. And I do think that could impact his playing time. The Steelers coaching staff, especially Mike Tomlin, they don't forget things. They don't. And they kind of will hold it against a player. And so you have a guy it's a hustle play. He's trying to make a play. I get all that. But Mike Tomlin said it on Tuesday. He called it a really stupid, I think he called it stupid or lazy or something like that in terms of the fumble. But he said he liked his trajectory, meaning he thinks he's playing better football. But I can't see that in a crunch time moment, if the Steelers aren't going to hesitate now that Roman Wilson has put that out there on tape. We'll see. Brian Haynes asked, halfway through the season, has your expectations changed? What are your biggest surprises, excitements, and letdowns? All right, so I would say halfway through the season, I think that they're around where I thought they would be. They're 5-3. They're in the thick of things in the division. They're also in the thick of things in the conference. And when you look back on the 3 losses, I hope people can see that, man, like outside of that Thursday night loss, which is it's tough to travel on Thursday night. I know that, even though the Ravens won. But you look at the losses. So Seattle was much better than people probably thought. And you look at Green Bay, they're still a legitimate team in the NFL. Yeah, and you throw Cincinnati, which they're still a really good offense. They've scored 38 or more points the last 2 weeks. Joe Flacco threw for 470 yards. Say what you want. They're about where I thought they would be. My biggest surprises, excitements, I would say that my biggest surprise has been the offense in general. I never thought that the offense would be the part of this team that we would say, I feel like they've figured something out, and the defense is searching for answers. And that's my letdown, is the defense has been the letdown. You have so much money tied up into this half of the football field. You have so much invested draft capital, all of it, names, experience. I said this before, I'll say it again, you can't be this bad. And yet they are. That's why it's a letdown. Let's go to Jay. He said, does Sayamalu affect the running game that much. When he's not in there, it's not so good. I'm not sure if it's Sayamalu impacting the running game or the fact that when he's not in there, they don't have Spencer Anderson to be able to use the way that they want. I think that the two things can be true here. And so I think that when Sayamalu is healthy and in there, and I do know that Dave Schofield said this on the press conference recap podcast. If you missed that, go check it out. He said that maybe the Sayamalu injury last week when he was ruled out of the game was more precautionary if the Steelers felt like they could handle things without him. Second half, 3-score lead. It is a possibility. We'll see. But I can't recall a time, though, that they've had a player pulled from the lineup and said, we're just resting him and instead given an injury designation. So we'll see. But it does impact because Spencer Anderson is that linchpin that can do the other stuff. So they can't run jumbo. All right, let's go to PJ Gilbernew. He said, if the Steelers don't win the division this year, in your opinion, would this force a change in management, coaching staff, of the roster? I'm going to say that maybe some on the coaching staff, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of organizational management type issues and roster. There's going to be roster turnover anyways because of the 1-year contracts that they handed out. You got to think like Darius Slay's a 1-year deal. Aaron Rodgers is a 1-year deal. Kenneth Gainwell's a 1-year deal. Just as some examples, there's going to be some natural turnover on the roster no matter what. Next question from PJ. Why do you think Tomlin said they didn't do anything different on defense when it was obvious they did many things different? The least amount of blitzing, match man, took away the quick ins, truly rotated line, and edge rushers. I don't know. Maybe Mike Tomlin didn't want to say publicly that they made drastic sweeping changes to the point that it would signal that film that is on that is out there for the world to see, including the Chargers in Week 10, that they can go back and say, like, okay, here's what they did differently, and here's how we can exploit it. We can't always take what Mike Tomlin says as gospel. We've got to keep that in the back of our minds. And the last one from PJ, last question. If Sayamalu is hurt for any length of time, what will be the Steelers' plan for the offensive line and, more importantly, the jumbo package, since this was seemingly the only way we were able to run the ball effectively? I think personally they have a plan, whether it's Andres Pete, whether it's Ryan McCullum, someone that can go in and fill in at guard. The question is, what do you do with Spencer Anderson? Do you have Spencer Anderson be that guard, and when they go jumbo, he flexes back to the jumbo package and they run in another player? Do you put a Ryan McCullum or an Andres Pete in the guard, and then you just keep Spencer Anderson doing what he's doing? I don't know. They got to figure that out. But I think that those are the possible answers that you're looking for. And last but certainly not least, from Steeler Fan 69, he said, I accidentally used my dog's shampoo when I showered today. Now my wife says, good boy, good boy. The next joke. Bruce Lee had a brother that was never late. His name was Earl Lee. And the last one, the Beastie Boys are releasing a 5-part anthology. Parts A to D are free, but you have to fight for your right to part E. Those are good. I really like those. I love the play on words. That's good. And obviously, Steeler Fan 69 always provides the humor in our podcast every Wednesday. So thank you all for chiming in. Thank you all for participating in the mailbag segment. I do appreciate it. Make sure you check us out any social media platform. Go to Steel Curtain Network. You can find us there. You can find me on Twitter at jhartman, HARTMAN_PIT. Check us out on YouTube. Anywhere where you get your podcast, search Steel Curtain Network, you'll find us. I do appreciate each and every one of you that listens, shares this stuff. It is a grassroots movement, and we have you to thank for it. So thank you very much. Check out steelcurtainnetwork.com. That's a free website, updated multiple times a day. Check it out, steelcurtainnetwork.com. But we finish these up. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. Go Steelers.